Alright, back again, Luke here, and today what I want to do is kind of answer some of the questions that I received on my last video there about the bicycle riding, and man, that was pretty impressive. There was a lot of different responses there, a lot of different questions as well, so I kind of made a list here of the questions that I found, and figured I'd try and answer some of those in this video, as it was probably going to be, you know, pretty impossible to try and answer every single one of the ones that was on there, so let me see here. For some of the first questions here, a lot of people, or a few people had said that, made mention of the fact that Japan is really clean. And for the most part, yeah, Japan really is a clean city. It's interesting though, because there's not that many places where you can throw your garbage. And a lot of the places that do have garbage receptacles or garbage boxes, trash bags, trash bins around the corners, they usually have just a small trash bin, and it's located really close to a plastic bottle return kind of area. And that's it. That's usually all they have. But the majority of people here, when they have garbage or if they, you know, eat something, they don't throw the wrappers on the streets. I can't say this for everybody, but most of the people don't. They just keep it and they put it in the basket of their bicycle, or they tie it up, they take it home and they throw it away. Interestingly enough, this is very, very kind of interesting, I think, is when you see people walking their dogs on the streets, they actually have a plastic bag and a poop scoop. And they walk behind the dog, and wherever the dog, you know, poops or whatever, they pick it up and they put it in a bag and they take it home, because they don't leave it on the street. The idea behind that, I think, is, for one, it's probably, according to Japanese law, it's probably illegal to do something like that. On the other note, it causes people a lot of problems, you know, just by having it on the sidewalk. Considering Japan has been known as a concrete jungle, there's concrete everywhere, and there's not a lot of places like in the grass, places where the stuff could easily decompose. So it's one of those things, if you leave it on the street, you know, then somebody's going to step in it or something like that. So yeah, that's one of the main reasons why Japan is so clean. They really do a lot of stuff around here to try and keep it clean, and there are some street sweepers and even people in the local neighborhood in apartment complexes. Each house or each apartment has a specific day where they have to go outside and clean around the outside of the apartment building, a specific week or a specific day in the month. So yeah, it's kind of cool. A lot of people try their best around here to keep stuff clean. So that's one. I'm gonna grab my Coca-Cola in here. There's some Coca-Cola kind of, I don't know what it is, like an event or something going on where they're going throughout the different years of Coca-Cola and putting on the different dates of this. So picked up one of those. It's nothing, you know, super spectacular or anything. It's just Coke. Coca-Cola. That's, you know, don't want to be mistaken that. A couple of people had asked, you know, if I ride very often, and the answer is yeah. When it's a really nice day, I decide to go out and just go along the riverside and take a bike ride. It's really nice, really relaxing too. It's just so, you know, on the outskirts of Tokyo, it's just kind of like the suburbs, and you know, you're just rolling along. Nobody really cares, and not a lot of traffic and not a lot of noise, so it's really nice. But let me see here. Some people had asked about the housing in Japan, and if it's true that Japan only has houses that are about 10 or 20 years old and then they rip them down. Technically, yes, but actually technically no. For some of the buildings, it depends. If it is a really big office building, sometimes those office buildings will stay for a long time. As well, if it's an apartment complex, you'll probably find some apartment complexes going back to like 1970s or so, which is actually quite dangerous in Japan, because there are earthquakes, and the structures and supports that were made before there was a law passed, I believe, in the late 70s, maybe it was after 76 or so, that before that time there was no structural, any kind of structural regulations on the buildings. But after that they said, you know, okay, you must have this structure, you must have this much rebar inside the concrete, or else the concrete will crack and break. So if you get anything before, you know, 1976 in Japan, you're kind of in a dangerous area. And those buildings are usually really cheap as far as apartments go, but really unsafe. As well as the third floor in apartment buildings. The way it works is they have the the beams, support beams for the building. And the way the support beams work is like floors 1 and 2 have support beams standing on end like this. Floor 3 has no support beams. Then 4 and 5 or 6 have support beams, 7 no support beams. And the reason for that is, like, if there is a huge earthquake, the building doesn't kind of fall over, but it kind of crushes itself. It just falls on itself. But that also means that, you know, the third floor buildings, and especially built before the early 70s, those are the most dangerous because they will collapse and the third floor will just, you know, disappear. So if you get a building space on the third floor, it's usually quite cheap. So yeah, there's that. For other houses and things like that, yeah, they do tear them down. They do a lot of refurbishing, but for the most part, they leave stuff here. They build it once, and there's really limited maintenance that's ever done on the buildings. They just leave it until it completely runs itself down into the ground, and then they, you know, destroy it. There's not really any of that preservation to try and keep it nice and clean or to try and keep it looking good. It just kind of wears itself down, and then they rebuild it. So that's the situation on that. The homeless. Some people had asked, why are there homeless in Japan? Well, being homeless in Japan is basically voluntary. As crazy as that may sound, a lot of the homeless people in Japan are voluntarily being homeless. They do not want to work for the government. They don't support the government. They don't support any of the political ideas. They don't want to pay taxes. So they voluntarily are homeless. And surprisingly enough, some of the homeless people can actually eat pretty decently. I went through one of the parks once, and I saw homeless people. I saw this guy, 2 guys, they were sitting together, and they had this whole bag full of like bread buns and sausages and everything, and they're just sitting there just cooking, you know? And I thought, wow, you know, you'd never see that back home. But yeah, a lot of it is voluntary, so. Let's see here, other questions. There's quite a list here, so. Some people had asked what part of Japan I was filming and what parts of Japan I usually film, and that's in the Tokyo area or the Kanagawa area. Now, the Kanagawa area is pretty big, and so is Tokyo area. It's pretty big, but yeah, that's where I usually, you know, film around. And let me see here. Question: do Japanese people celebrate Easter? And the question is no. That's why I was able to make, you know, videos on Easter. I was responding to comments on Easter. You know, everybody's probably at home or hanging out with family on Easter and, you know, eating some Cadbury eggs or, you know, doing some egg hunts or just, you know, spending time with family. But in Japan, yeah, Easter's not, you know, something that's really celebrated, so. Let's take that off. Favorite restaurants in Japan? Some of the favorite restaurants that I like in Japan are yakiniku, which is basically, it came from Korea. The idea came from Korea. It's basically like just a regular barbecue. It's in the middle of a table. So you have a round table with a barbecue set in there. And you just get raw plates of meat and you just grill it in front of you. I mean, usually the meat's really thin, but you order all different kinds of meats. They have different flavors to them. Like sometimes you can get some basil chicken or some like sweet and sour kind of pork stuff. You can get all sorts of different flavors, and it's just fantastic. You grill it and, you know, dip it into different sauces, and oh, it's so nice. That's one of them. And the other one I like is shabu shabu. And the word shabu shabu, it just means like when you put something in and you move it around kind of like in water. It's the Japanese like onomatopoeias, like the you know, the sounds for things that don't necessarily have the exact sound. Like we would go swish swish. In Japan it's more like shabu shabu. So it's the same kind of thing. You just get a couple of pieces of raw meat, usually pork or beef, and it's really, really thin. And in boiling hot water, usually it's either regular water or sometimes it can be flavored water, sometimes with like a chili flavor or with a soy sauce flavor or, you know, things like that. You just slowly swish it in the water and it just boils it. So it's like boiled meat. And it's really good with different kinds of sesame sauces and things like that. Oh. Just thinking about it's making me hungry. It's fantastic. Usually pretty reasonable too. You can get an all-you-can-eat course or an all-you-can-drink course for I think about $60, which is pretty nice. 90 minutes. You can, you know, eat and drink as much as you want. Some people had mentioned Uniqlo because they saw the Uniqlo sign, and Uniqlo is from Japan. However, Japan has recently decided to open a chain of Uniqlo stores around New York. So that's something that was in the news maybe about a month or a couple of months ago, maybe even longer. But yeah, they've opened up a huge chain of stores in New York, Manhattan, and yeah, people have really been loving it, I guess, because it's really cheap clothing. It's kind of like Gap, but cheaper, you know. So yeah, that's it. And let me see here, what else? Some people had asked if I had any friends that were, you know, foreign here. You know, I'm using the word foreign lightly. After being in Japan for a while, you get kind of used to saying the word foreign, which is probably not the best way to say it, but do I have any other friends from different countries around Japan? And the answer is yes. I have some friends from the UK that are around here. They're just a blast to hang out with. Really great, funny guys. I got some Australian friends, some Austrian friends, and some German friends around here. A couple of Canadian friends as well. So yeah, it's a nice mix. You know, getting a chance to meet different people. I had some really couple of close friends from Ireland, but after the earthquake and things like that in Japan, they decided to go home. So yeah, they come and go, but. Some people had asked me, you know, why did I sell my my Nissan R32 Skyline? And the main cause for that was basically lack of parking. Parking spaces are expensive here. You have to pay for the parking space, you have to pay for the insurance, and you have to pay for the shaken, which is a mandatory 2-year maintenance on the car, as well as weight tax. You have to pay for yearly driving tax. So, I mean, in 1 year, basically, by having your car, you know, and driving it as much as you can, even after 2 years or so, paying all the fees, you're looking at paying, what, $5,000 every 2 years or more just to own a car. So it's too much, unfortunately. So that's why I sold it. Actually, I should have said I wound up giving it away because the price that I sold it for was about as much as a couple of pizzas from Domino's. That's not a lie. Let's see here. What other ones? Some people wanted to know what was I talking about at the end of the video, at the last part of the end of the video. I was just talking about when it got cut off about how the Japanese women here, like the older women, can do so many things. They can like bicycle and hold an umbrella and talk on a cell phone, you know, and have their kids in a basket, and they can do all these different things here. It's really amazing to see all this stuff that they can do around here while riding a bicycle. But I'm still not in that phase yet. But yeah, that's what I was talking about. And let me see here. Some people were asking about, let me see, DVD shops. Are they still popular in Japan? And the answer is yes. You know, DVD shops are still popular, but they're kind of going a different route. One of the DVD shops that's actually next to me right now is focusing a lot more on renting out manga, or the Japanese comic books. They rent them out now, and that's something that I hadn't seen before. But you can rent a couple of the new Japanese manga books. They usually have like this plastic cover over the front of them, and I think it's like maybe 200 yen or something like that to rent like 4 books or something. It's really reasonable. You can rent it for like a few days, but people have been doing that, so that's kind of the main thing. I'm worried about the video gaming market because I can see that kind of eventually second-hand sales of video games kind of disappearing, but yeah, people are still renting videos and DVDs. They probably don't call them videos anymore. I'll show you how old I'm getting. Betamax players. What's a DVD? You know. Let me see. A few people had asked like why I wasn't talking to anybody and if that was normal. And yeah, that's actually normal. In Tokyo is the mixing pot, and it's a melting pot, but what that means is that if you go to Kansai area, the Kansai area means there's a lot of Kansai people, and they kind of are more friendly because they're all together in one group. But from Tokyo, people from all different places come around here, and unfortunately, nobody trusts anybody. There's a lot of fear of people they don't know. So people don't talk. You don't talk to somebody that you don't know. If you instantly start a conversation with somebody you don't know, like if they're walking on the street, you know, you could get a really bad reaction, like they could be startled and run away. You know, you might have somebody call the police. You know, it depends. It really depends. But generally, people don't, you know, just randomly talk to people. So that's why. Let's see here. What else? A lot of people were wondering, why do you have to go out and spend money? Like, is it against the law? Is it illegal if you don't? You know, why do you have to? Japan is a society where being sociable is important, and being sociable with people you know. So, or introducing people you know to people that you don't know, or your friends of people, you know, kind of creating these big circles, you know. Going out to eat and going out to drink. In Japan, they have something that's called nomunication, which nomu means to drink, and then munication, or the cation part, comes from communication. So nomunication means drinking and talking at the same time. So that's a huge part of Japanese society, a huge part of Japanese culture. For those people like maybe in the US who, you know, go out to the bar. Sometimes you go out to the bar just to get loaded. Sometimes you go out to the bar just to hang out with friends. Sometimes you go out to the bar to pick up, you know, somebody if you're at the bar, whatever. Those are kind of the key points there. But in Japan, it's a drinking society. I think it's more or less closer associated with maybe, you know, the English, or maybe even the French. Or any society in general. I know I'm probably leaving out some, and I'm not doing that intentional, but just as some ideas here, where actually going out and having a few drinks is being sociable, and it's not just somewhere to you know, to get drunk or to instantly, you know, try and pick somebody up. It's out there to try and relax from a hard day's work. A lot of the people here work long hours, and they're very tired, and the only way to really complain about work, or complain about their boss, or, you know, just kind of relax from work, is to go out and have a few drinks and, you know, just joke around, laugh, have fun, and then go home and start it all over the next day. So that's the main reason for that. If you don't go out, it means you're not social, and you'll spend a really lonely time here in Japan if you don't go out with people and socialize. It's a huge important part, and I think it's like that in other parts of the world as well. So that's one of the main reasons there. Let me see here. White mask, I've mentioned this in other videos before, but I'll mention it again. Currently, right now in this season, this is the hay fever season, and in Japan, hay fever is unbelievable. Unfortunately for Japan here, there was a long time ago a lot of oak trees, I think, that were planted around in Japan, and not only those trees, but there's a few other trees, and they grew kind of, they spread like wildfire everywhere. And when this season comes around, the pollen from the flowers, the trees, and the dust that's around in Japan, it just blows like crazy, and people here are very highly allergic to that, and there's a huge outbreak of hay fever. And, you know, people have the itchy eyes, and they can't breathe, and they can't, you know, they have runny noses, and they sneeze. So by wearing the mask, it actually protects them a little bit from the outside hay fever. And it's also something, if people are sick, they wear a mask in kind of like a courtesy to people who aren't sick. So because they don't want to spread it. Or if people are sick and they're not wearing a mask, the people who are wearing the mask are trying to prevent from getting sick. So there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not because of huge amounts of pollution. It's not because, you know, there's radiation around here. You know, try to think in the logical, you know, idea of it. If you were sick, you know, what do you do to try not to give it to somebody? You know, and that's what they do here in Japan. But, yeah, that's the reason why there's a white mask. Well, let's see here. So a lot of people, actually, I'm surprised, had mentioned getting a GoPro for my bicycle and for my camera and stuff like that. And I really do appreciate the ideas, and I appreciate the thoughts there. But unfortunately, like I had mentioned, it's something that I rarely do. I don't usually make the riding videos or bicycle videos very often. And, you know, going out and buying, you know, something for that, you know, just so that I can, you know, hold the camera properly, or, you know, to avoid the shaking or things like that. Yeah, it's not something, you know, I'm gonna do. I don't have any plans on wearing a helmet or anything like that. That would just be kind of creepy, you know. And granted, I do go through some of the stores, you know, just talking, but I try and keep it to a whisper. It's something where I could put the camera away easily, but from riding around with a camera in my head, I just don't know if that's gonna signal the police. I don't know if that's gonna, you know, if people say like, oh, that guy's a pervert, you know, he's going around taking films of people, you know, you just don't know. You have to be more cautious here as a foreign resident living in Japan than you would if you were a local person living here. You know, I think you really got to be careful in what places you decide that you're gonna take film and other places, you know, where it's okay. And granted, you know, when I was riding my bicycle, I know it probably wasn't the safest, you know, and there was that one part where I couldn't make it around, you know, the corner. But in general, I just did it for fun. So it's one of those things where it's probably not going to happen. I can't remember the last time that I made a bicycle video, but it's probably going to be quite some time before I do it again. Yeah, as I had mentioned, this is the kind of gaming channel. I want to keep it as much gaming focused as possible. And yeah, from time to time I'll throw in, you know, some different snippets of, you know, bicycling or eating food or something like that. But yeah, I don't want to make it too much. So yeah, I appreciate the advice there. I appreciate the offers in the comments. But as of right now, yeah, it's probably going to be quite some time before I do another biking video. But the last one here, some people were concerned about the fact that I was riding on the right side of the road. And once again, that kind of goes back to the Tokyo area. If you're riding with traffic, you are more likely to get in an accident than you if you're riding against traffic. Now, as strange as that may sound, try and think about it in kind of this way. If there's a car who's looking at you and you're looking at the car, you can see, okay, this bicyclist is about this close to the shoulder, you know, he could come out this far, and then the car can easily just kind of make more space to go around you. But if you're riding like this and there's a car behind you, the tendency for most people when they look over their shoulder to try and see if there's a car or something, they generally turn in the direction that they're looking. So if you're riding your bicycle and you go like this, usually the bicycle goes into the road. And that can actually cause a huge accident, especially if the person behind you decides to speed up. And if they're speeding up and they want to try and get around you as quickly as they can, you hear the motor, you hear the sound, you go to turn, and you turn the bicycle, and you go straight into traffic and you get hit. It's really dangerous. So that's why, you know, you might have seen me kind of crossing from the left side to the right side. You saw the motorcycle kind of whip past. I think there was one part where the motorcycle kind of whipped past me, and that actually makes me feel really nervous. And it's a lot better to ride on the right side. Not only that, but in Japan, in Tokyo, in Osaka area or in Kansai area, people walk on the right side, or they what is it? They stop on the right side of the road, and they walk on the left side of the road. Something like that. It's just the opposite of Tokyo. When you're on an escalator in Tokyo, you stand on the left side. Oh, great. Well, I have a, a package here. I'll be back in a second. Hi. 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 はい、ありがとうございます。はい、どうも。ありがとうございます。はい。All right. Whew, hopefully that's all right. Totally unexpected there. And yeah, just got a package. What was I saying? Yeah, so on an escalator, usually you'll have, on the left side, you'll have the walking, or people will stand in Tokyo on an escalator on the left side, and they'll walk up it on the right. But in Kansai area, people will stand on the right side, and they'll walk up it on the left. So you have this cultural difference between the Osaka and the Kansai people and the Tokyo, or the Kanto people. And when you mix them together, which is what happens in Tokyo, you have some people walking on the right and some people walking on the left, and some people coming at you on the right and some people coming at you on the left. So there's really, kind of laxed rules in Tokyo as far as which side is correct, which side is wrong. You know, there's a yeah. They're one of those kind of situations. So if you ride on the right side and you walk on the left side, or you walk on the left side and you ride on the right side, or, you know, you switch them around, it doesn't matter. It's still okay. So yeah, for those who were worried about that, yeah, don't worry. This package that I just got in here, this is kind of nifty. So I guess I can make a video of that, which is kind of cool. I was watching Dan Van Dam recently, and he was putting up a lot of his live videos on Google Hangout, and he put up a video where he was just talking about some games that he was playing, or some games that he wasn't really too interested in. I think one of them was Earthbound that he had for the NES, and I looked at it and thought, wow, that's pretty cool, you know, and I should get that because I didn't have it for the NES. So yeah, and he said, oh yeah, it should be out there on the Famicom. So I ordered it, and it just came in here, and ba-ding, here's my Earthbound copy. You can see it's got some sun fading. It's pretty rare to even find it in a box, even though this box is quite sun faded here, but yeah, it's complete. So got my copy of Earthbound for the old Famicom, which I'm pretty happy about. But yeah, hopefully that answered some of you guys' questions, and sorry about the little interruption there. That was totally unplanned. But I think I'm running out of time here, but just thought I'd share that with you guys and try and answer some of the questions. And yeah, that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. And as you can see in the background, see some Paperboy and some Donkey Kong Country. And over there, some rock and roll racing. I turned down the volume.